Hello and welcome to Mommy Dentist and Business Podcast. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Grace Yum, and thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of our community. And if you are not a subscribed official MDIB, go to our website at mommydibs.com. You can also look at our whole library of podcasts we've been doing for 8 years on our website. I know that on certain platforms like Apple or Spotify, they only take the most recent 100. So if you're looking for more, just do a deep dive on our website. And again, thank you for just your loyalty and this 5-star reviews and making sure that, we win fan favorite 4 years in a row and #1 dental podcast last year. And I'm so grateful. Without you, we cannot do that. Well, for all of our avid listeners, you and I are going to go on a deep dive today on a topic that is so needed, but we have not touched in 8 years. Can you believe that? So I'm really excited to introduce today's guest speaker, Pamela Wilson, who is a caregiving expert, speaker, and advocate with 25 years of experience helping older adults and their families navigate health, financial, legal, and caregiving challenges. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I know that, you do so much, and I'm just excited to have an expert on our show. Can you please tell our audience a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you got to where you are today?
Well, as you mentioned, I've been doing this for 25 years, and basically what I do is very simple. I solve people's problems around caregiving, whether it's health, financial, legal, or family dynamics.
I love that. It is so needed. And sometimes, people call it the sandwich generation, where I would say women and men, right, who are raising children, but then also have to take care or want to take care of their older family members. And it can be very stressful. I've watched so many people do it, and some people have had to cut back on work in order to do the caregiving. How does family caregiving affect a woman's ability to work and pursue a career beyond the obvious of raising children?
Well, it's challenging because I say that family caregiving, it's lifelong. You have children, you get married, you have a spouse, you have aging parents, you're taking care of your parents, you're taking care of your spouse, and then you have to take care of yourself. It's never ending.
Yes, it is. It really is never ending. And for those that are primary caregivers, especially women, why do women need to lead family discussions about caregiving?
Because women are the caregivers. Everything is left to the women. Not that men are not caregivers. I want to be fair. They are, but women drive caregiving. So if they don't start to talk about it, nobody else is going to bring it up.
Sure. Oh my goodness. It is so true. So true. What can women do if a spouse or elderly parent resists or delays having these discussions?
My suggestion is to schedule time. And if you have to bring it up every Saturday and every Saturday and every Saturday for 12 weeks, you just don't give up and you keep doing it because people don't want to talk about this. It's uncomfortable. It's unpleasant.
Absolutely. It really is. And I would think that maybe it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for our elderly parents who are used to doing it all, and they don't want to admit that there's decline or that someone has to take care of them. What can we do to kind of alleviate that embarrassment?
Well, sometimes it's embarrassment and sometimes it's actually giving up control, right? Because if you need help from somebody else, then you're relying on them and you're giving up control. So I always tell caregivers, don't rush in and take over. Because then people are going to expect you to do more. So only help with what you need to help with and let your parents do what they can do.
What strategies, because this is hard, can women use when elderly parents are showing early signs of memory loss or cognitive decline, but are in denial and resistant to seeking help?
A good thing is to say, hey, mom or dad, we don't know if this is memory loss. What if it's a B12 vitamin deficiency? What if it's your thyroid? What if it's something else? Let's at least go get it checked out so we know what we're working with.
Yes, absolutely. Are there any signs that we can look out for? I mean, because especially if we don't live with them, right? We're not there day to day. We see them sporadically. Others not have what do people tell you? Oh, I just kind of noticed this, and like maybe I'm making a big deal out of nothing, or like what are some subtle signs that actually could lead down to like the beginning stages that lead to more like serious problems?
There's actually signs 20 to 30 years before, believe it or not. The early signs are difficulties with math and balancing checkbooks and managing money and scheduling appointments.
Okay.
So, and parents don't like to let their children get into their money matters. But I mean, if you see disorganization or anything like that, math difficulties, start questioning what's going on.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. So, what's like a second kind of sign besides math or next to math, I would say?
Second signs are loss in executive function. So it's the ability to say, okay, I need to plan my doctor appointment 3 months from now, or I'm going to meet my kids Sunday at 12, and then they forget. Sticky notes all over the house, mail that's stacking up. I mean, your parent who used to be able to do all these things is like kind of not keeping up.
If you're enjoying these podcasts and you want to do a deeper dive, please, whether it's about clinical information, business management, lifestyle, come check out the official membership. Our community is there and it's meant for this type of growth. If you want to expand, really, come check out our website at mommydibs.com, mommydibs.com, so that you have access to a whole community that can get you from point A to point B. Now back to our podcast.
How can women be proactive though in planning for aging and elder care needs? And when I have a second part to this question, but I'd love for you to answer the being proactive part.
So being proactive, let's say if you have a family and you have siblings, right? Hopefully you're not an only child because that's really hard. But if you have siblings, start talking about with your siblings, well, if mom or dad needs care, what can you do? Can you step in? This is what I can do. So even before you talk to your parents, start having discussions with your siblings to kind of be proactive.
Oh my gosh. I think that the family dynamic can get so tricky, especially when siblings don't want to help out. Maybe you have like 2 or 3 siblings, brothers and sisters, and then it all kind of sometimes lands on the firstborn. I'm sure you see that, right? It's always
the firstborn or the baby. It's like what, either end, right?
But if you see like if you have siblings that are like, no, you deal with, like, what are you supposed to do at that point?
I recommend, this is going to sound crazy, but sibling agreements, because I'll tell you what happens. They'll say, oh, you take care of it. And then you're taking care of it. And then all of a sudden they don't like what you're doing. And they're like, well, you shouldn't be doing that. And you shouldn't be doing that. So if you do a sibling agreement saying, okay, you don't want to be involved. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. You can't come back at me later and say that you don't like this because you're not involved.
Okay. All right. That is a good idea. So getting them, like telling them, this is what I'm doing, kind of laying out the roadmap, and then putting it on paper maybe, or like an email trail.
Well, it's transparency, right? Because people don't like information that's hidden and they get suspicious. And so rather than them saying, well, why did you do that? You can say, well, I told you, I sent you an email.
Now, what if parents, elderly parents, are living far away, different state, different city? Then what happens?
And when you say that, do you mean no children are living in town with them?
Correct.
Okay. Then what I recommend is hiring a care manager. So I used to be a care manager for families. You can hire a local person on the ground to go check in on your parents or manage and hire caregivers for them. There's help that you can access.
Okay. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know there was such a thing. And I suppose you find them through an agency?
Well, you can find them through a care management agency, or the National Guardianship Association is a great place because they have guardians, but they also have care managers. And these people are educated and vetted and background checked.
Okay, wonderful. Now, what if they are, let's just say, the parents are clearly in need of help, but they don't want your help, right? But you're also knowing like they could be dangerous. Like that, an example, they live in a house with multiple stairs, like 3 level. They really shouldn't be. You're afraid they live alone. They're divorced, or maybe one parent is no longer, is deceased, but they don't want to move out of the house. I mean, at some point you're like, well, I'm just worried that you're going to fall and you can't call me, or, and you see those commercials for like those necklaces.
The fall buttons. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, is that imperative?
It's helpful. Now, it depends on the degree to which your parents will allow what I call oversight. So number one, you have to have the discussion with them saying, hey, I'm worried about you. If they're a fall risk, then you get physical therapy to get them stronger so they don't fall. So you try to address the risks first.
Okay.
And they may not be willing to do that. So then you got to go to plan B.
Okay. What's plan B?
Plan B is, okay, I see, Mom or Dad, you're at risk for falling down the steps. We're going to put up some double stair railings. You don't want to do exercises. You need to know that if you fall, you could break a hip, go to a nursing home, and never come back home. Now, if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. But could I maybe put cameras in your house, or you'd use a fall detection device so at least somebody finds you when you're on the floor?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Great ideas. Are there any strategies women business owners can use to be proactive to avoid having their lives derailed by caregiving responsibilities?
So this is one that people don't think about. And it's long-term care insurance. So states are beginning to do their own mandatory long-term care, and there's a lot of downsides to that. But business owners can find, and I'm not one of these people, but you find a long-term care insurance expert. You can get it for yourself. You can get it for your parents. Your employees can have it. It's a voluntary insurance, but then if you have insurance and your parents need care, you're not having to quit work to do it. The insurance plan pays for caregivers, and they pay for assisted living and nursing homes.
Oh, okay. I did not know that either.
So it's kind of like you're investing in being able to continue to work, right?
Sure.
For this expense over here,
okay,
it can be tax deductible.
I see. Okay. All right. So I guess you just have to do some research on finding insurance companies.
You just find a long-term care insurance expert that can help you set up a company plan or a plan for yourself.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. That's really, really useful. For seniors, though, this is kind of tricky because I've seen this happen too. Without a formal power of attorney or other legal protections, what practical steps can dentists take to ensure necessary care, consent, or documentation is handled appropriately?
So in this situation, I would consider a dentist to be very similar to a doctor or a care community. Care communities have these things called patient rights, and patients can name a patient representative on paper, even if they don't have a power of attorney. So you'd obviously want to get some legal advice to do this, but you come up with a patient representative form saying, hey, I don't have a power of attorney, but this person is the person who will help me with anything I need help with, and I give you permission to speak to them.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Just ask a lawyer for that type of documentation.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm going to bring up a couple of scenarios that I've seen or read about in my community that has happened for our dentists who specialize in treating the geriatric population. Mm-hmm. And we call them super seniors. And, they're in their 70s, 80s, they're thriving. Like my parents are super seniors. I mean, they're always exercising, they're super healthy, and they're really sharp, and they're completely on their own, autonomous. But I've seen where dentists have run into little issues where their patient is starting to lose memory. So like 6 months ago, they were fine. And then they come in and they have a cavity. Okay, we'll make an appointment for the next visit to treat the cavity. Then they come in, and then all of a sudden they tell the dentist, you never told me I had a cavity. I don't have a cavity. And then the dentist is like, oh my gosh, I just saw you 2 weeks ago, and you signed the consent form, and I showed you the x-rays and the pictures and this huge hole in your tooth. Now what? Because they did sign the consent, and then 2 weeks later, they're back for their filling, but now you can't do the filling because now they're saying you never told them.
So 2 things. One, if you have the patient representative form, you have somebody you can call. And 2, you may not know this, but dentists are mandatory reporters.
Yes, we are.
So if you, and it's hard to do, right? You don't want to turn in your patient, but I mean, if they're not going to let you call their kids or somebody else, or maybe they don't have anybody, then you've got to express concern about, so self-neglect is a huge thing with people with dementia because they don't know they have memory loss. To your point, they were just there, they signed the consent form, they can't remember.
Right.
Report it and try to get them some help.
Okay. Who are we reporting it to?
So every state's different. So some states you can call Adult Protective Services in the county where you are.
Okay.
And sometimes they make you call the police first. So APS and the police work together, and people are afraid to do that because they're like, oh, I don't want to turn somebody in. It's going to get them in trouble. You can work with these folks. You just have to know how to do it.
Okay. All right. Good to know. So, because that was a real life example of, that. Another example that has popped up is, the elderly patient has like dentures that need to be, redone. It's been 20 years, et cetera. And again, they consent for it and they want to do it. And they're like, I hate these dentures. I need new ones. But then, next thing you know, the child of the parent, adult child of the parent, is calling the office. You're ripping my parent off. How dare you? This is ridiculous. Now what?
So my question would be, is that child a power of attorney or not? If they're not, then they really shouldn't be interfering. And again, you could call Adult Protective Services because you have a child who's interfering in your patient to have their right to have dentures.
Okay. Perfect.
I know it sounds crazy. But these are the crazy things that happen, right?
Right. And so that's where we just want to protect our patients, but then it's kind of like a sticky situation and we're not used to being in this type of position. So it's kind of like, oh, well, what are we supposed to do? Like, who are we calling?
Right. You're stuck between the kids who may or may not be the power of attorney.
Right.
And then a parent who really has their right to have new dentures if they want them.
Exactly. Now, for those of us who are, taking care of our parents, and need to have further discussions, if the parents are like, we have trusts lined up, we have this lined up, we have that lined up, what other things, I guess, do we need to have lined up legally?
So I would ask your parents to share those documents with you, because what I can tell you from my experience as an expert witness and everything, attorneys write these boilerplate documents that don't apply to every situation. And if your family has, like if you're a business owner or your parents were business owners or you got some siblings that aren't trustworthy, you have to put a lot of extra provisions in those documents. So that's number one. You want to actually be able to see the documents and make sure that your parents are sharing them with everybody in your family, because again, sometimes parents will keep secrets and then they blow up on the person who's named power of attorney.
Okay. All right. Good to know. It drums up a memory when I was younger, and this is just a family kind of story. I don't know, maybe I was in my late 20s or early 30s, but I remember when my grandmother, in her latter parts of her years, left my aunt, who is the youngest child, and my father being the oldest, and there's 4 more in between. My aunt had my grandmother living with her at some point, and then she got to the point with dementia, she got lost, walked in the neighborhood, couldn't find her. Then we did have to put her in a home. And I remember as a college student going to the home, and she'd be begging me to take her out of there. Like, get me out of here, or she'd be like, why don't you just sleep over? She'd like, here, just sleep in my bed with me. And I'm like, Grandma, I can't sleep here, But I just remember when she did pass, my youngest aunt had put into motion a life insurance policy on my grandmother. and put herself as the beneficiary. Didn't tell anybody in the family that she did that. And then she went and cashed the life insurance policy and kept
There's
all the money.
nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And here's a lot of times what happens is, and family caregivers have to protect themselves too. So, I mean, if you're the caregiver and you're taking care of your parent and you're paying their expenses and you're not expecting anything in return, why not take out a life insurance policy to repay yourself? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so, but I mean, there was nothing wrong with that had she been more transparent and told everybody she was doing that. And I think that everybody was caught off guard, that nobody was aware that she did that and felt like, oh my God. But I guess going back to your previous recommendation of
Transparency and talking to everybody and saying, look, if I'm going to be that caregiver, you need to know I'm doing these things because I'm giving up a lot.
Right.
Some people will quit their jobs.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that. You know, my husband's executive assistant, she went from full-time to part-time, but she's like, I have to take my parents who live next door to me to all their doctor's appointments, and you know, and then there's two, it's not just one. And so, I mean, that's a full-time job right there.
It is. Well, and you do have to get the permission of the person that you're getting the life insurance policy on. I mean, you know, you just can't buy life insurance policies on people you don't know, right?
Right. Oh my goodness. You know, is there anything that I've not asked you that you think would be really important to know on this recording?
You know, there's so much to go over. I guess the biggest thing I would say is be transparent in your family to avoid any type of legal battles later. Mm-hmm. Figure out ways. So if you're a business owner, figure out ways that your parents can be cared for, that you're not having to do the work, which could be long-term care insurance, you know, or something. Right. Figure that out long before your parents need it and talk to your parents about it. So, you know, parents and kids don't like to have these discussions.
No.
Talk about it before they need care. Ask them what they want. Let them know what you can or you can't do.
Okay.
The more you talk about it, the easier it will be.
Thank you. I just thought of one question though. So as dentists, you know, when we have our patients come in, like when do you ask them for power of attorney, or when do you
immediately? Like, I would say so. Anytime, and this is just from practical experience from, you know, helping my clients with doctors.
Yes.
When you have a new patient, immediately say, hey, do you have power of attorney documents that you can share with us? Do you have this? Every year when you do their paperwork, say, did you get this done? Can we have a copy? Mm-hmm. So kind of just as a matter of your general operating practices, at least once a year, ask if you don't have it.
Okay. Or at least, if not the power of attorney, but like someone to talk to, if not.
Or do the personal representative form or something. Yes.
Okay. Well, very good. Thank you so much, Pamela. This was really helpful and really nice to be able to pick your brain. If there are listeners who are going through a difficult time or going through uncharted territories, do you do consulting? Do you do coaching? Is there some kind of way they can reach out to you?
Yes. So I do one-on-one counseling sessions. I also do family sessions. So they just go to my website, PamelaDWilson.com. There is a services tab and there's elder care consultation. You can fill out a form and contact me. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so glad that we had this conversation. Now, listeners, there you have it. I hope that this was helpful. And again, listeners, if you are coming to any of our meetings, check out our website. Our next one is in March. It's our clinical event in Chicago on artificial intelligence. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you there. And we also have our social summit that's next fall, and that's also on our website. So thank you, everyone. And I am so thankful and grateful because we are recording right now on December 18th. It's going to be Christmas next week, but by the time you listen to this episode, it'll be the new year. So let's start the new year strong. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.